interfere with each other.
Oh.
Well, I have 4, but right now I have 2. Okay, great. I think we are about to go live.
Perfect.
That is that moment of suspense. And we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us today on another digital hangout, a chat, a conversation, if you will, with another chatbot diva, one of the most influential, I don't think anybody could argue with that, and patient people inside of the ManyChat group who answers a ton of questions every single day, the one and only 3-time speaker I must highlight at conversations with the biggest chatbot conference in the world, Mackensie Liberman. Thank you so much for joining us.
Of course. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate that. And that was such a wonderful intro. Thank you.
Well, I was trying hard not to mess it up and try to speak in Spanish because I just got off another one of these in Spanish and English. So I'm like, whoop, whoop, I have to turn on, a different brain there. But thank you so much for joining us and carving some time out of your busy schedule. It caught my attention when I saw you for the 3rd time. I mean, you've always been so active in the group, and your involvement is, it's probably more than we can see. But you've been there since the beginning, right? You've not only been in the group, but also in person. When we used to meet in person, do you remember those times where we used to have conferences?
Oh, I miss it.
Each other?
Yes, I miss it. I miss hanging out and and all the networking events, in person, with, drinking food. It was amazing. One day, hopefully soon, we'll get back to there.
I can't wait. And for the 3rd time, Mackensie, you are going to be sharing the stage with, pioneers in not just in the chat marketing space, but people like Billie Jean and Ryan Dice, Damon John. I mean, you are definitely representing, your group, your community, ManyChat. Tell us how you landed in this micro niche, being that you come from a scientific laboratory dissecting DNA or something like that.
So for those who don't know, my background is not in marketing. I actually, for over a decade before I got into chatbots, I was a clinically certified cytogeneticist. And what I did with that job was I analyzed people's chromosomes for abnormalities. So that was an interesting job. I mean, I love science. That was my goal, is being a scientist since I was young. But being stuck in a lab for 40 hours a week that had no windows, and also dealing with the ins and outs of working for a corporation and having to ask for time off, and also having to work weekends, it kind of sucked. And I was like, I got to do something else. Like, there's something else I can do that would be more fulfilling for me, that I could be home with my family more, and also that I could impact others more. So, I mean, it was great that I could help, I guess, patients, with learning if they had cancer or not. But I felt like I could do more with my life, and I'm a little bit more outgoing than most of my lab mates were. So I was like, okay, there's something I gotta do online. So I found out about being able to run Facebook ads for businesses, and I started doing that. And about 6 or 7 months into that, I'd heard about chatbots, but I didn't really get into them a whole lot. And so finally, I was like, okay, I got to learn what these things are. And from my experience from doing digital marketing for local businesses and running Facebook ads to landing pages, I was answering questions a ton inside of the page's messenger inbox. And so when I heard about chatbots and what they could do, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's gonna make my job so much easier. Just thinking about the automation of like, hey, what does this offer include? And I'm like, oh my gosh, if I could just automate this. Well, there it is. And so once I started using chatbots for clients, I haven't built a landing page for a client in 3 years, seems like. So they are just way more engaging, and I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir here, but so then I started running bots for my very first chatbot client, which is a Mexican restaurant that everybody probably knows about, because they were one of my first clients, and Facebook actually used it as a case study at the First Conversations conference, which I thought was pretty awesome. Like, wow. And actually I sent a screenshot to the owner. It's this really small little Mexican restaurant, really good food, which I get free food from, which is great.
You still
But
do?
yeah, I still get free food.
Oh,
Yeah.
how cool is that?
When I was doing keto for a while, he actually texted me. He's like, "Why haven't you come in lately?" I'm like, "I want to." I'm like, "I just too many carbs," but that's all over with now. I go back more. But I sent him a picture of the. I took a picture when we were at the Conversations conference and said, "Hey, look, Facebook is using your restaurant as an example." He goes, "Wow, I'm famous now." I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
"Okay." But yeah, so that's kind of how I just kind of transitioned, and it took me about a year with my agency to be able to leave my job, because I was like, okay, I have to be hitting at least $10,000 a month consistently for me to be able to feel okay with leaving, because I'm the breadwinner in my family and had, my kids were on my insurance and stuff. So needing to make sure it was legit and that it was going to keep going before I decided to burn the bridge and say I'm out. So when it was finally time, I got a sorry for loss card from a grocery store and wrote my 2-week notice on there. And then I actually had the next 2 weeks off because I was working weekends. I had asked for them off. And so I just went and put in my notice and my badge, and I haven't been back since. And yeah, December will be 3 years that it's been since I've done that. Yeah.
That's awesome. You said something, if I understood correctly, you said you bought them a sorry for your loss card.
A sympathy card. Yep. Went to
Awesome.
the store.
That is awesome to know, those stories that maybe for you at the moment, you were decided, but you knew also that you were taking a risk, right? But,
Yeah.
a measured risk,
Yeah.
right? And did that happen before Conversations 2018 or after?
It was before. So it was December of
Before.
2017 that I did that. Yeah.
Oh,
So it
wow.
was.
That's even, bolder than what I just described, because I made that transition or that mind switch because I didn't want to be cornered as a chatbot guy or as a
Oh,
chatbot agency early in the game, because back then, had Periscope, Meerkat, we had a bunch of other apps that were, getting traction, but all of a sudden they were gone. And I figured, I've been in the game for a while to understand that, things come and go, and that it
yeah.
is a third-party app, so I was cautious, but I needed to be in Austin that weekend. I needed to be there, and I needed to see, and I need to, I wanted to be up front so I wouldn't miss, so I wouldn't be distracted, so I wouldn't, find an excuse why to leave the auditorium, but to actually, observe, read, and understand the heart of the company. And that is when they had 2 messenger executives from Facebook, and they rarely attend an outside conference, and they were there. And one of them said, messenger marketing is here to stay, and ManyChat is our preferred chatbot partner. And they also said something like, you guys are 1% of the 1%. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Yeah, that was awesome.
That's when it went from here to here, and I said, "Oh, I'm gonna go back home and I'm gonna kill it." Right? And and that's been, that's been the overall case. Although nothing goes like this, it's been like, and then Facebook makes us go through, loopholes, and things change, and then we have to drag ourselves underneath barbed wire and such.
Well, the big picture with that, though, is the fact that chat apps, whatever they are, people prefer them over phone calls. They prefer them over email. So obviously Messenger is great, but as we know, SMS is awesome. Even utilizing short little emails, people have made millions of dollars off of email. So, I mean, you can still use email. It's not as engaging, but still being able to use Messenger, SMS, and also, other upcoming platforms like Instagram, which, is still Facebook. Same with WhatsApp, is still Facebook. But, who knows what is going to be coming down the line. I mean, back in the day, MySpace was the place to be. And so who knows, there might be another chat app that's going to, which ManyChat is definitely in the forefront of all chat marketing. So I feel like, staking my flag with ManyChat and riding with them wherever they're going in terms of platforms, that they're going to definitely be going in the direction that that will shift to wherever that is, where people are.
I agree that they're blazing the trail in an entire industry. They're changing the game, and they're not going anywhere. That there might be competition, which is healthy for the marketplace, and but they have longevity, and I think they also have plans, for the long term game. So really cool. So tell us a little bit about what is working for you, for your clients during recent current events. So, recent closures, and how you're being able to leverage some of the tools and automation techniques to help local business leverage some of the losses and some of the closures.
Yeah, so it's like a perfect storm, a bad perfect storm for 2020, with not only with the coronavirus, but then just for chat marketing in general, with, like you were mentioning, with Facebook, where Facebook made changes back in March, with the 24-hour rule and all these tags, not all these tags, but just 3 tags. So yeah, it's made it interesting for both fronts to then have to carry on and be a leader with my clients and say, okay, this is what we got to do. So in regards to the coronavirus, like with my Mexican restaurant I was mentioning, he didn't even realize. I was like, dude, we need to get like online ordering. We need to get gift card sales going. And he's like, is this even going to be that big of a deal? I'm like, are you kidding me, dude? Like, my gosh. Okay, I'm like, I'm glad I'm talking to you about this now, because if I didn't bring this up, you would be blindsided by closures, which here in Washington State, they actually closed down. Well, not totally closed, but made it only takeout for a while. So so that's what we implemented. I was able to get him to sign up for a Stripe account, which was an amazing success in itself. And then I was able to connect that to Messenger. Because he's older, and also, with English or Spanish isn't my number one, mode of communication. So it's that communication barrier too, but he did it. I was so proud of him. He's not tech savvy. But then we were able to set up a gift card. So doing a gift card special where they can buy $40 of gift cards for or other way around, $50 worth of gift cards for $40. And the other thing is the community in this area really rallied around the restaurants. And I think that was the case in a lot of places. So a lot of people were wanting to help uplift restaurants to keep them going when, the initial shutdown. So that's really helped. Also, what has gone on with my client here, I've ran a birthday campaign since November of 2017, and I have not shut it off or anything. He actually opened up a second location in a nearby city of ours. And I was like, I'm just going to duplicate the exact same campaign for that one. And the funny thing is, that ad, just because the way Facebook has changed their things, the initial ad was grandfathered in because it's just been running and I haven't touched it. Then when I went to just recreate the exact same thing, they were saying that the ad creative was going to be lower because there was too much text in it, which I should redo it just because Facebook now recently got rid of the text rule. But I thought that was funny just because I've been running the ad and Facebook hasn't said anything about that over the years. So but during the coronavirus shutdown, this birthday ad has still gone strong, which is great. People, although we changed it where they could do takeout or takeout when it was just takeout only, and now it's takeout or dine in because they are allowing 50% for people to come in. Yeah. But so the birthday campaign has been wonderful. The other thing I've done for this restaurant too is QR codes for the menu, because they need to have one-time use menus. And so, of course, that's a huge added expense to a business that's already hurting with getting, the same amount of income. They're really reduced with that. So we created a QR code where now he just has, which I created it in Canva and I made it as a PDF and I sent it to him in email. It says, okay, just print this out. And it's just a little flyer with a QR code that people will scan. Yeah. And it's great too, because once they get inside of Messenger, then I have a follow-up message about 30 minutes later that says, hey, do you want to know next time we have a deal here at the restaurant? And then I have a OTN, one-time notification opt-in, that they opt into. So then it's getting more subscribers in. And there are people that don't opt in. And so I also have a rule set up that if someone comes in through the QR code and they don't answer that, within a couple of days, I just unsubscribe them because I'm like, they're going to be pointless. Them giving any other information. But yeah, so that's been going really well. Other businesses, I mean, obviously e-commerce has just rocketed up just because of all the online ordering. So that's been the usual e-commerce type of methodologies, of strategies, like, coupon codes and buy one, get one free sort of things. So that's really worked. And then for some other like local businesses, just doing like appointment-based businesses doing free consults and things like that, that really also point out though the fact that they're following guidelines, health guidelines, so that way, because there's people that are obviously concerned about coronavirus and being in public places. So being able to let them know that, they're following guidelines and it will be safe, for like dentists and for physical therapists and stuff. That way, it helps to still get people in because they still have a need to get those services.
Sure. And you mentioned something about, helping or educating business owners who have been taught to do things maybe for generations that has worked, in the brick and mortar space, in the restaurant, in the food industry, that have worked, and they have their own primitive systems or, things that have worked. Yeah. But when this came about, they were totally thrown off. They've never paid attention to, to data, to ROI, to anything like that. And it also was it has been an opportunity for me and our team to understand that and also pivot that they don't care about click-through rates. They don't care about, all the metrics that we do care and that we're constantly trying to tweak. They only care about saving money and time, basically, or making money in time, right? And when you come out, with all these, bells and whistles, they're like, "What are you talking about, dude?" So I've come across that learning experience as well. So it's been a learning and a sharpening times for business owner as well as for us as marketers, because at the end of the day, at least it's in my case, we create something and that makes sense and that's functional, and then we need to go out and sell it. Then we need to go out and offer it. Then we need to go out and get attention, and actually that makes sense. Then, if I don't change my lingo, my audience is just going to be like, "What are you talking about?" Right? So what has been your experience with that, as far as growing an agency that maybe serves brands around the world even, and how now you've been in the trenches building something or resolving certain intricacies with custom build outs, but then then comes the selling part that cannot be separated from a successful agency, right? How can you elaborate on that?
So are you saying like with being able to sell the chatbots to the clients, or selling the services of the clients' customers to the customers?
To clients, so B2B.
Okay. Yeah. So it's interesting because first you got to figure out what level of information that they have about chat marketing. Like, I get people who come to me and say, "Hey, I understand the benefits of a chatbot," and maybe they have a ManyChat account, but they are just like, "I can't learn this." Or they say, "I'm too afraid of Facebook's rules and getting banned." And so they're like, I just don't want to have to deal with it. Can you build it? So those are the easy people to convince about, because then I just talk to them about strategy. I'm like, okay, yeah, based off of, what your goals are and what type of business you are, these are the type of things that we can set up and run. Now, when it comes to businesses that haven't heard of chat marketing, you're the one that's like reaching out to them to be like the first, utilize, or what I usually do is I don't really get into the nuts and bolts of like ManyChat specifically, and also just Messenger, going into the details of that aspect. And it's more generalized of saying, that I'm utilizing conversational marketing of Facebook and Messenger to bring them more customers. And then that's where I go into the stats of, like I was mentioning earlier, about how people rather would chat with a business than have to call them or email. Email just isn't as engaging as Messenger. And so that's usually a big selling point. They realize, they understand the benefits of Facebook. And, if they've either have never done Facebook ads, but they understand how important Facebook is, just because also during the pandemic that everybody's home and they can't go anywhere, that everybody's, on their phones. And two, if they have tried Facebook ads, but they haven't done a good job, sometimes when they say, "Oh yeah, I've done Facebook ads," and I dig a little bit deeper, I find out, oh, they boosted a post one time and it didn't bring anybody in. And sometimes, you look at their past boosted posts and or you go through your newsfeed yourself and you see an ad and you're like, "Oh my gosh, I feel bad for this person, this business, this is not a good ad." It just like says, yeah, what was one I saw? It was they make driveways and stuff like that, and it was just like, call for an estimate or something, and just gave their phone number. I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is what people try to do with Facebook ads, and that's understandable because that's what they might think about putting in for like a print ad or something. But this is totally different, and there's definitely calls to action and ways to make people actually click and actually take the action needed to get them to convert. So but so when it comes to clients that don't really know much about messenger marketing or anything, then that's where I also mention saying that their competition is not using this, just because 90% of businesses don't utilize messenger marketing or chat marketing in general. So that would set them above and beyond their competition, especially in industries that are really competitive. So that's another great aspect. And then pointing out other cool things that can be done, like loyalty programs all within Messenger, which is great now, because you think of back in the day, like a year ago with coffee shops and stuff, that they have the loyalty program with the stamp cards. Yeah, those are like, can't do those now. So having that all digitally within a phone where someone just can scan a QR code from a distance, it really solves that problem. It also helps to reduce people gaming the system and getting the stamp and just doing it themselves or whatever. But and also being able to track too stats and see where people are at with things too.
Yes, having different entry points and engaging those at the end of the month. One of the things that is working for us is, for local businesses who may already be investing in print ads, what we do is like, hey, keep that ad running, but instead of this element, have a QR code with an arrow that points out to it, and clear instructions, and for people to take advantage of something. And so now they're not, they're using something that they're used to, and you're slowly, revealing some of the functionality, and maybe 30, 60 days, you reveal a data sheet with real first names and last names, and all of a sudden they start to get it. And then an upsell, like a birthday campaign or a smart review campaign or something like that, that makes sense. And they start, now they are sold. Now they're like, how much does that cost? Because now they see that it's working, and now they're not so skeptic. You build a relationship with them, you get some free tacos. I'm also a big proponent, or why not establish that, those relationships that make sense. If it doesn't make sense, don't take a client that's going to be a pain in the butt and not go along with compliance and sort of, but with the clients that are local based, that you can establish like some sort of exchange, although not of equal value, but of that could, that both people can benefit, right? Like, hey, a yacht club or something like that.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. Like when I first pitched the client, I didn't have that in mind at all. I just told him, I was like, okay, he's my first chatbot client. So I was like, I don't want to charge a huge amount just because I'm still learning. And when I was explaining it to him, I could see deer in headlights look, because I'm sure I was just saying a bunch of stuff that was like, what are you even talking about? Like, oh, tags and all that stuff that now I would just be like, no, don't say that. But when I first pitched it to him, I said $500 a month, for ads and the bot. And he goes, oh, I've only spent $150 one time for a print ad and in a magazine. I'm like, really? It's like, okay, how about 400? And he goes, how about 300 and free food? I'm like, sold. That works. So yeah, and like I said, he's still been my my client still, and after 3 years, and like I said, he opened up that second location, so I gave him the same deal for the second location, just because the other thing is he is like the ideal client in terms of he doesn't, not saying that clients bother me, but he doesn't really message me a whole lot. Things are working, people are coming in. It's pretty much automated. And then, I just work with him and saying, like, just last week I said, hey, it's fall technically now. I'm like, what kind of offer do you want to run for the fall season or whatever? So put that together. He's like, let's do some gift card giveaways. I'm like, people love that. So putting that together for both locations, and then just letting it run. They get a coupon after they enter to win. And it just really helps to bring in a lot of people. And the other cool thing that I really love about chat marketing with businesses is, I'm sure as you know, is that you get people who are authentic inside of Messenger that say things to the business that they really Like they're like, you are the best restaurant. Like we love coming there. And like, oh, this is so cool. And then there's also some people that say crazy things then like, really TMI, why are you saying this to a bot? Like, there's this one where it's they do weekly webinars for talking about investment strategies. And this one lady in there is talking about her ex and she's living with him, but she's afraid and she wants to get out of there. So she wants to start investing. I'm like, why are you telling this business this information? Like, this is TMI. Like, what the heck? So it's interesting. It adds, some entertaining value, I guess, to that. But it's also good when you see, people respond and say, hey, thank you so much, to the business for whatever product or service that they provide, that they, it's making a difference.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've had a fair share of both spectrums, right? So either, you're praised for, or the brand is praised for
Yeah.
something that they've done, and or some people, get impatient and rude.
Yeah. Or they just say random weird things. You're like, okay,
Yes,
thanks for telling me that. I didn't need to know that.
yes. So share a little bit of what your presentation is going to be about this year, if you will. Maybe the
Yeah.
title, maybe, I don't know, write it and hint it somewhere. What can you share about that presentation? Because as a three-time speaker, and I'm going to be taking notes, and I'm sure a lot of people will.
Well, let me tell you, your note taking, it might be a paper full of fire, just because I'm going to be covering so much within 25 minutes. I was told I only get 25 minutes. Like, oh my gosh. Okay. Well, I couldn't really cut anything out. Like, I'm just like, there's just nothing I can cut out of here. So it's going to be super quick, but I am going to put in so much information. And the good news with it being digital this year is, we get recording. So need be, if you need to, you can go back through and rewatch it. But yeah, so I'm super excited this year. So the last 2 years, the first year is about, building an agency. Last year, I was talking about advanced messaging strategies, which I really love to do stuff like that, because it's just really utilizes my mind to come up with ideas that are a little bit more advanced, but don't require coding, because I'm not a coder. So that was a lot of fun last year. But this year, I'm talking about strategies to build your list and keep them engaged in the face of Facebook's new rules, and be able to still contact and reach people outside of 24 hours. Because that's what, like you were mentioning at the beginning about me answering questions in the ManyChat group, that's a constant question that I see. People are like, outside 24 hours, what good are my subscribers? How can I even reach them? And so I came up with my presentation this year. I'm talking about ways that you can set up your bot funnel properly, so then that way you can still reach them. And then the different ways that I have my bot set and my clients' bot set up to be able to reach people based off of, how recently they've been engaged inside of Messenger, and then the other channels that they've opted into. So then that way it's the most engaging possible way that you can reach them, and the cheapest way as well.
Wow, that is amazing. And I'm sure a lot of people will benefit from, from your presentation. I hope, more people watch it, as we are getting, a lot of attention as the countdown unwinds, because it's a common denominator every single day. That question, right? How do I continue conversating, and the caution that some of us have around that, and how, ways, creative ways, ethical ways of getting around, or setting up,
working it with,
setting up your bot and your conversations in a way that that demands for that, right? The psychological, not just the technical, but the psychological and the creative and the expectations. There's so much to it that I'm sure we all will benefit. I will have to.
Yeah, especially with the foundational aspect of things too, making sure it's set up, knowing what your end goal is going to be, so that way you can reverse engineer and make sure that you have all your ducks in a line when you're first starting out, so that you can still reach them. Because if and as many of us know, and else I see in the group, that people are like, hey, I haven't used a chatbot for a year or 6 months, and I know there's these changes. What am I supposed to do now? I'm like, oh man, you missed a window of still being able to utilize how it was before, and then be able to set that up, so now that you can keep reaching them. So some of that, is like, well, if you, there's other ways. I mentioned this too, I'll mention it in my presentation with how to reach them, if need be, if you haven't set that up either.
Yeah, that's good. So good hacks, not no black hat here.
Exactly.
So yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for carving some time with us, Mackenzie. I appreciate you and everything that you do for the community. Your patience is uncanny. I learn from you.
Well, I'm glad. Yeah, I'm yeah.
Awesome.
So
Guys,
sure
go check out Mackenzie in her group. In what's the name of your group again?
Oh, Marketing with Messenger Bots.
Marketing with Messenger Bots. Go check her out. Her
that with when it was different things. Yeah.
Her content is and feel free to post the link on the bottom when you get a chance, so that people can reach you and learn top notch, compliant, technical, creative content that is necessary to have success in chat marketing. So thank you again. See you on Conversations.
Yes, I'm super excited because also there's going to be the networking events and the hangout thing. So it's not just going to be one directional, where you're just going to be sitting there listening to speakers. So ManyChat is really putting in the effort to make this as a conference as possible, virtually, but it's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm really excited to be able to virtually chat with people in messenger rooms or however, chat saloon, I think is what it's called. So I'm really excited for that. That's
really cool. I've seen that set up or similar somewhere in a different conference, but I can't wait till that experience. I'm sure they're gonna be thinking outside of the box when it comes to interacting, with each other, making it dynamic and interactive, and not just in a box like this one. Although we had so much fun and a lot of value from this conversation, I want to go ahead and, with your permission, share in the ManyChat group. Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Thanks, Mackenzie. See you soon.
All right. Yeah. We'll talk to you guys later. See ya. See ya. Conversations. Bye.